This is Marc Bernal. This is Sergio Busquets. This is Bernal again, and this is Busquets again. It's hard to see a tall, lanky, technically excellent midfielder come out of La Masia and not compare him to the greatest pivot of all time. But Bernal really does look like a Busquets regen.
You see the lineup. I was wondering who they're going to play, and man, it's two guys named Marc from La Masia, Bernal and Casado. Bernal has kept his place on the team. He was one of three 17-year-olds that were starting together with Cuberti and obviously Yamal.
He grew up watching and admiring Sergio Busquets, and a lot of people now see him as the natural next step in that role at Barca. Now, a lot of you might think he's just another La Masia graduate, but he isn't. He's like the Lamine Yamal of midfielders. Now, that might sound ridiculous, but you have to understand that Bernal has been spoken about highly for years behind the scenes. He has been seen as a player that can elevate Barca to another level. He gives you defensive solidity and calmness on the ball. I mean, go and watch his impact in the second half against Copenhagen in the Champions League. The 2024-2025 season was supposed to be his breakout year, but when he went down late in Barcelona's away game against Rayo Vallecano in August of 2024, everything changed. He didn't need a scan to tell him what had happened. He knew straight away. That kind of pain, that kind of feeling in your knee, players just know. As he lay on the ground in stoppage time, the season he had dreamed about was slowly slipping away. His teammates knew it too. Cubarsi and Olmo walked over and immediately put their hands to their faces. Bernal was only 17 years old. He had just broken into Barcelona's first team, and now in just the third league game of the season, it was over. A torn ACL in his left knee, damage to his meniscus, and nearly a full year on the sidelines ahead. What made it hurt even more was how close he was to something special. Just months earlier, everything had lined up perfectly for him. When Hansi Flick arrived as Barcelona's new head coach in the summer of 2024, he came prepared. Flick had already asked for reports on all the young players of the club, especially the ones coming through Barça Athletic. And one name kept coming up again and again: Marc Bernal. He had joined La Masia when he was just 6 years old. Becoming a part of La Masia that young puts you on the fast track to becoming the next homegrown Barca midfielder. As a kid, Bernal was bigger and stronger than most players his age. But what really surprised coaches was how good he was on the ball. He had soft feet, great control, and a very clean left foot. Normally, youth coaches worry about kids being too small or getting pushed around. With Bernal, it was the opposite. He was a big kid who played with a great touch and unbelievable footballing intelligence. That combination instantly made him stand out. There's actually a really great story that shows just how special he was. When he was around 9 years old, he played in an under-10 tournament as a guest for a local club, Gimnàstic de Manresa. In the final, he scored a hat-trick against Espanyol and was named the best player of the entire tournament. Now, playing up an age group is hard enough. Dominating like that is something else. Bernal wasn't just physically ahead of his age group, his talent was ahead too. Back at La Masia, he kept climbing. Year after year, he moved through the youth teams, always looking comfortable, always looking ready for the next step. By the time he was 16, he was already playing above his age group regularly, and that's when things really started to accelerate. In the 2023-2024 season, Bernal became a key player for Barça Athletic, Barca's B team. He made 31 appearances, starting 27 of those matches, which is pretty crazy for someone so young in a men's league. He even scored 2 goals in one game against Sestao River, becoming the youngest goal scorer in the history of Spain's third division. At this point, Bernal wasn't just a promising young kid anymore, he was already performing at a high level in senior football. Inside the club, people started talking about him more. A tall, calm, holding midfielder with great technique, coming straight from La Masia, bossing games against grown professionals. Bernal was someone who understood space, someone who made football look simple. People were now not afraid to say it out loud. This kid was the closest thing Barca had seen to Sergio Busquets since Busquets himself had left the club. Now, that comparison is not made lightly at Barca. They had been searching for a replacement for years. Xavi wanted Zubamendi. The club at one point admired Joshua Kimmich, but financial problems kept getting in the way. In July of 2023, Laporta himself had mentioned Bernal by name when talking about the club's midfield future. Instead of spending big money, Laporta suggested that Barca should just look at La Masia first. He listed a few young midfielders and included Bernal among them. For a teenager, that kind of a public shout out from the president is massive. Still though, despite the hype, Bernal was not rushed straight into the first team under Xavi. He stayed with the B team. But everything changed in the summer of 2024 when Hansi Flick arrived as Barcelona's new head coach. Flick had always trusted young players, and he clearly saw something special in Bernal. He watched them train, watched them play, and came to the conclusion, why are they looking outside when the answer to their problems is within the club? Because remember, due to the Euros and Copa America that summer, a lot of Barcelona's senior players returned late from international duty. That meant that the preseason was full of academy players. You know, the kids doing child labor for Barca. For many, it was a chance to train, but for Bernal, it was an opportunity to show just how good he was, and he smashed it. Flick immediately liked what he saw. Bernal played in a double pivot with Casado, another La Masia midfielder, and he just looked completely at home. He was so calm under pressure, always available for the ball, always scanning. Then when he had the ball, he always chose the right option. After a friendly against Manchester City, Pep was actually asked about the Barcelona youngster. That was the moment that people really started paying attention. Physically, of course, Bernal stood out. He's incredibly tall, even taller than Busquets. But it isn't just about size. That's what she said. It was also about his brain, his positioning, his timing, the way he slowed the game down when Barca needed control. Inside the dressing room, people also spoke about his attitude. He's very quiet but focused and mature way beyond his age. That's a big reason why Flick trusted him straight away. Even when he made a mistake against Monaco in preseason, Flick didn't drop him. He kept him in the team. And then of course came the moment that changed everything. On August 17th, 2024, just months after turning 17, Bernal was named in the starting lineup for Barca's first La Liga game of the season away at Valencia. That's right, he wasn't on the bench, he didn't come in as a second half sub, he went straight into the starting 11. A 17-year-old from La Masia, starting for Barcelona on opening day. It was the kind of moment every academy kid dreams about. And the wonderful part was that he looked completely comfortable. He kept things simple, barely wasted a pass, and helped control the rhythm of the game. Defensively, he covered a lot of ground, protected the back line like a condom, and always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. When you watched him play, it was hard not to think of Busquets. That same calm, awareness. It was like he could see the game 2 steps ahead. Starting a teenager as the holding midfielder was a huge call by Flick, and Bernal rewarded that trust with a wonderful performance. What made it even better was that he was sharing the pitch with his academy teammates. Yamal was already flying on the wing, Kubarsi was holding down things in the back line. It felt like the arrival of a whole new generation of La Masia stars. After that, Flick kept picking him. Bernal started again in a 2-1 win over Athletic Club. The Barca fans were buzzing. La Masia had done it again. A tall, intelligent holding midfielder running games at 17. It was like watching the early days of Busquets all over again. But then came Rayo Vallecano, and everything stopped. Bernal went down injured in the closing minutes of the match. At first, it didn't look too serious, just one of those moments that you hope a player can shake off. But this time it was much worse. Medical tests soon confirmed every young footballer's nightmare. Bernal had torn his ACL in his left knee and also damaged his external meniscus. In an instant, his breakout season was over before it had really even begun. One moment he was starting La Liga games, the next he was staring at surgery and months of rehab. For Barca fans, it was heartbreaking. August wasn't even finished, and the teenager who had brought so much calm and control to their midfield was now ruled out for most of the season. ACL injuries usually mean 9 to 12 months on the sidelines, and for someone that young, that's brutal. To make things even more bittersweet, Barca went on to have an incredible 2024-2025 season without him. Under Hansi Flick, the team dominated Spain. They won La Liga, lifted the Copa del Rey, and also picked up the Spanish Super Cup. A clean sweep domestically, and Barca were officially back on top. But there was one thing missing, the Champions League. Barca made a deep run in Europe, but were knocked out in the semi-finals by Inter Milan after extra time. It was a painful and close game. Flick's team played exciting attacking football all season, but critics felt they were a bit too open at times. And looking back, it's hard not to wonder if a calm defensive midfielder like Bernal could have helped control those big moments. After the injury, Bernal disappeared from the pitch, but not from Flick's mind. The coach made it clear he was still his player, his future defensive midfielder. Flick even went to see Bernal in the hospital after surgery. According to The Athletic, the book he brought him was called Overcome Your Limits, which was written by a sports psychologist. Inside the cover, Flick wrote a personal message reminding Bernal that he was young, that his career was long, and that this setback didn't change what the club believed he could become. That meant a lot to Bernal because the following months were the hardest of his life. He later admitted that there were days that he just wanted to sleep, to escape the routine, the rehab, the mental battle. He lived at La Masia during most of his recovery, with the club keeping a close eye on him. For the first 6 weeks, he stayed in a nearby hotel with his mother, because he needed help with everything. Walking, dressing, basic daily tasks needed assistance. But slowly things changed. He trained every day, he got stronger, he added muscle to his upper body. He even grew a couple of centimeters taller. More importantly though, he grew mentally. As a result, the club extended his contract until 2026 and added a massive 500 million euros release clause. It was a clear message. They still believed in him. At the time though, football had moved on. Casado stepped up in his absence, Frankie de Jong returned and found some of the best form of his life, but behind the scenes, Flick kept telling Bernal the same thing. There was no rush, no pressure. When the time was right, he would be back.
Philosophy.
Over those months, Bernal spent countless hours in the gym and completely transformed his body. The skinny, lanky teenager started to fill out. He added muscle, strength, and power. And when fans finally saw him again, he looked noticeably stronger. As the 2025-2026 season got closer, excitement started to return. Coaches, fans, and the media were all keeping a close eye on Bernal's progress. And then, in August of 2025, 346 days after his injury, Bernal was finally medically cleared. It was a huge milestone, but the club stayed cautious. Hansi Flick and his staff brought him back slowly. Doctors still warn that players his age often need close to a full year before returning properly, so Barca planned to be careful. But of course, eventually came the moment that every Barca fan had been waiting for, Bernal's official comeback. His return to competitive football arrived on September 14th, 2025, almost 13 months after the injury that stopped everything. Bernal later said that he couldn't stop smiling, and you could see it. After months of rehab, doubt, and waiting, the joy was back. And somehow it got even better, because minutes after coming on, Bernal picked up the ball in midfield and spotted Robert Lewandowski making a run. He slipped a clean, perfectly weighted pass into his path, and Lewandowski finished it. 5 minutes into his comeback, and he had gotten an assist. You couldn't script it any better. Barca made a big deal of his return too. The club celebrated his return across social media, highlighting the long recovery, and of course his assist. Bernal himself spoke about how special the moment was, but also made it very clear that he knew this was just the beginning. The hard work wasn't over. It's clear though that he is the future of this Barca midfield. Similar to the Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets trio, I think we will eventually see a Pedri, Gavi, Bernal trio in Barca's midfield, or Pedri and de Jong in front of Bernal. With a pivot as good as this kid, Barca can return to a traditional 4-3-3 if needed. Because in modern football, a midfielder who can't be pressed, who always has time on the ball, who keeps everything ticking, is priceless. That's what Busquets did for over a decade. Bernal has shown signs that he can be the same calm heartbeat in the midfield, the player who can make everyone else better just by being there. It's great to see him surrounded by the players he grew up with. Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Balde, Cubarsí. This is a generation that trusts each other and a club that believes in youth. Barca's entire identity is built on giving La Masia players real responsibility, and Bernal stands out even in a very talented group. To see just how good the rest of the Barca team is, you have to watch this video right here.